What you are about to see is a one-reel featurette called How Walt Disney Cartoons Are Made, which was created from the RKO Exhibitors Reel and shown to audiences nationwide as a promotional featurette for the coming of the Snow White feature release in February 1938.